Today, Precarious plays
Pokémon Colosseum.
Wow, that arrow is not graffiti. I think it came with the building. That one. I think it's supposed to look like graffiti, but I think somebody made it stylish. Oh my god, look at her hat.
That is a bold stance.
It is.
Like, I think at one point during development, she wore like a bandolier and had like a pistol on her hip.
Probably.
Go bang bang, it shoots Pokeballs. I mean, it shoots Pokeballs out of the firearm, not like she's shooting Pokeballs.
He's always really cute with his feet, but I've never seen a Doduo in 3 dimensions like that. He's so adorable.
Bit of a mess, I think.
Oh,
Whap,
look.
whap, 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 whap.
That would be an annoying animal. Couldn't even stop making noise to catch its breath.
Why would it be an annoying animal? Do you have something you need to say about animals with 2 faces?
They certainly don't talk a lot.
Moving on.
Let's just, see what we can do about this animal with 2 faces.
I spent quite a lot of time talking about some of my early things that I noticed early. I noticed some early problems with Xenosaga Episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about something that right now I'm putting down as a positive, even though it might
Not.
might wind up being grating.
Yeah.
Whoever the scenario designer, or maybe I guess the scenario choreographer for some of the action scenes, went fucking nuts. Just bail, if you can't find the footage, I'll record some, because it's in the first 10 minutes of the game. There's an ES aerial battle. And whoever was directing that scene just went crazy.
Is Furt need of calling because he's red, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's just spinning. So much spinning and melee attacks, and it's kind of messy, and I think sometimes the camera gets pulled in too close.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a sword fight between 2 characters early on that happens in a cutscene, and it is also insane. It's just... the reason why I'm not sure if it's a positive or not is because that, part of me thinks that the easiest way to describe the action in these early cutscenes that have been like action focused.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think if I had to sum it up in one word, it would be
Oh, is Swablu dangerous? Can it? It's a bird. Will it eat me?
not any more dangerous than Doduo.
Okay.
Doduo was also a bird, and it could have used some sort of flying move on Yanma.
Okay. Oh.
If you want to swap out you probably could.
I don't really want to because I like using these 2. They seem like a good team.
Okay. What was it that I had to say? The only word I can think of right now is sporadic, and that's not... Schizophrenic, maybe? I think it might be schizophrenic. Hyperactive?
Spastic?
I think, spasm, yes, okay, that's what I was thinking of. I was stuck on other S words. They kind of look like they're spasming, you know? Mm-hmm. Lots of short, jerky movements and a ton of them. But it's kind of cool, like the overall effect. I don't know, like somebody blew up a pillar and then got shot in the face, and then the pillar fell over, and then the ground cracked, and they died, but they didn't die. They escaped to come back 14 years later. It was a whole thing.
I'm gonna trust you on that one.
Yeah, it's probably for the best. I don't know if it's... That's the thing that I'm not sure about, is I want to play Xenosaga Episode 2, and then I want to purchase a copy and play Xenosaga Episode 3. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to know if I would recommend any of them until I'm done with Episode 3.
Yeah. Wasn't it supposed to be a much bigger series?
It was supposed to be a 6-parter.
Ooh.
And it got cut down to half.
That's gotta hurt.
Especially because I think up until Episode 3, I believe that they still thought that they were going to get all 6. So it's like 1 had the first 1/6 of the story, 2 had the second 1/6 of the story, and then I'm pretty sure that they had to cram the last 4/6 of the story. Hopefully they crammed the last 4/6 of the story into Episode 3, because that's one thing I don't know, and something that I want to find out for myself. Mm-hmm. Episode 3 might be a huge letdown, because it might be an enormous cliffhanger. They might not wrap up anything.
Oh.
I don't know. You know?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's good to find out after so many years, right?
Maybe. Right now, I'm just excited because going back and playing Episode 2, one thing that I am happy about, I remember that I remembered the gameplay being boring compared to Episode 1.
Yeah.
And so far, I am thinking that my childhood self must have just been so disappointed with the graphical changes that I must have been completely uninvested in the gameplay. I can tell you one thing that I know that I messed up as a child. The leveling system, the character progression, the character customization system is much different in the second game. The way it works in the first game, your character has a level, and that doesn't matter much. If you play the game normally, you'll level up at an appropriate rate to proceed through the game normally. What matters more is unlocking additional options for your character, either by guiding their stat growth, by expending tech points to boost their base stats. You can use this just as an example. Ziggy starts with, I think, lower than average ether attack, which if by the end of the game all of my characters were pretty good at everything, so I just assumed that what I was trying to do worked. So I have not verified this, but I'm confident, based on what I just finished experiencing, that whatever I was doing was working. Ziggy starts with a lower than average ether attack, but if you boost up his ether attack base stat as he levels up, like if you go out of your way to specifically focus on that with tech points, his triangle attack, where he throws a dagger made out of light, basically. While it starts at the beginning of the game, it starts much weaker than his melee attacks, his square button attacks, because that's how the game works for most of the characters. Is square is mapped to a physical melee attack, and triangle is mapped to a ranged ether attack, which is ether is Xenosaga magic. If you focus on his ether attack as he's leveling, eventually they'll stabilize, they'll equalize. He'll be able to use either of them equally effectively, right?
Right.
So that's one way that you can progress your characters, is statistically. I remember being really proud of myself because all of my characters had something that they could do better than any other character. Junior was the best at physical attacking. Ziggy he was unkillable, basically, because of the skills and stats that I had given him. Cosmos could lay down more ether-based damage than any other character.
Yeah.
Xion was super fast and could keep the entire team alive with the best healing spells available. Chaos had some really weird specific stuff that was incredibly helpful and could just do everything like at an above average level. Mm-hmm. He was like the second best at everything. And Momo was just my darling little angel that was actually the best at everything. No. Momo was closer to Chaos, where she could just do everything pretty well.
Oh.
And she had a few weird things that...
Oh, no.
He's cold.
Look at all of them. I can't deal with your talking about anything but this right now.
Are you being serious? Do you need help? You mash...
I might.
You mash your Pokemon's bodies against their bodies until one side faints.
Circular grind motion. What is a snow runt? It's cold... So it's an ice Pokemon?
I think that they're both ice, and I think Spheal may be ice water. I'm not sure if it's ice water.
I once had a cat toy that was a bouncy ball that just had a suit on, and it looked like almost exactly like that. It was just a wrap that they put around probably a tennis ball or some other rubber ball. And it was just so... It looked just like Spheal. Not blue, it was brown instead, but I mean, same stupid face and teeth and everything.
With the teeth?
Yeah, with the little teeth. Because it was supposed to look a little like a cat. The ice Pokemon, are they of a particular... I don't know what's weak against ice or anything. I don't remember.
These Pokemon... will probably, they would be weak to fire.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hold on. There's a problem with ice's relationship to fire because ice is often paired with water, which more than negates, in many situations in single player, it more than negates fire's advantage. It actually will make fire deal neutral damage and then typically, oops. It actually had an ice move. I wasn't expecting that. I forgot that Aurora Beam is the low-level alternative to Ice Beam. I forgot that it had one.
Well, he can go home. Makuhita, will he fare fairly well?
Yes. That's the point I was trying to get to. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
You can't always rely on fire to melt ice because ice and water are they're so interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
You can almost always reliably smash ice with fighting type moves.
Mm-hmm. Oh my god, it's the cutest. It's so weird.
Like, it's weird because if you were to tell me that I had to fight an ice type Pokemon, if you were like, you have to fight a Pokemon and one of its types is ice.
Isn't Dragon strong against ice?
No, it's the other way around.
Oh.
But if you had to tell me you have to fight a Pokemon and one of its types is ice, and I wasn't allowed to know what the other type was, and I could only have one move to try to beat it, that was like one of the elemental moves.
Uh-huh.
So like the fire, the water, the ice, those types of moves. I would sooner take an electric move than a fire move, because of how closely water and ice are associated with one another in Pokemon. I think they've broken with that a little bit in more recent generations, but I mean, seriously, like in the first generation you had Dewgong and Seal, and...
No, he has a nice move too.
It's sort of a weak one, though.
Okay.
So, anyway... you customize your characters with stats, you customize them with, techs, which I think are much more limited. They were my favorite part as a child because they're so flashy. I relied on them much less in this playthrough. The other thing you can do is you can give them skills, and skills are extracted from equipment. So, for example, there is an item called, let's say, the cross. You find a cross on a necklace. You can extract the damage minus 10 ability from it. And whenever you equip it on someone, they just take 10% less damage. If they are wearing the cross, they also take 10% less damage, and the two effects do stack. But really what matters about that system is you can find one copy of an item, and you can disperse that power through your whole group. And then maybe one person can benefit from a doubling of the effect. So for example, there's an item called Speed Shoes. It increases your turn speed, like how often your turn comes up by a quarter, by 25%. Several people in my group had that, but by the end of the game, Shion had that skill equipped, and I actually gave her the physical speed shoes, so she was even faster. Because she was like my most important party member, because she could heal everyone, like no matter what, she could heal everyone. Because she has I gave her a spell called Safety Level.
Yeah.
Which always leaves the target with 1 hit point, if they would otherwise be slain. So it became impossible for enemies to kill my party in 1 hit. And that's what I was going to say before, is everybody had something that they could do the best, right?
Yeah.
Even if it was just as simple as the thing that Momo could do, like her special utility power. She has a technique called Dark Scepter, where she can turn Gnosis into items.
Oh.
So everybody could do something special, but everybody was still, like, they had a base level of performance because of how I arranged their stats. Momo could still punch people, and Ziggy could still shoot people with lightning, and the damage would still be at an acceptable level. And that was cool. And I'm gonna compare it, I think, a little more to Xenosaga Episode 2 later, because that's gone. Yeah, it's much harder to do that, because you don't have the fine control over the statistical progression.